Let me tell you something most men will never have the stomach to accept. It is safer to be feared than it is to be loved. Not because pain is noble, not because cruelty is smart, but because fear is permanent and love is a mood. People love you when you give, when you bleed, when your silence comforts them. But the moment you stop serving their emotional appetites, the moment you disappoint their ideal version of you, that love, it fractures. Fear doesn't fracture, fear imprints. Fear doesn't fade when you say no, it sharpens. And that's why the man who is loved is adored until he fails. But the man who is feared, he's respected even after he fails 10 times. Because fear doesn't ask for forgiveness, it demands caution. Look at history. The ones who were loved, Caesar, Gorbachev, Louis XVII, they were adored, admired, and then executed, dethroned, or erased. But the ones who were feared, Ivan, Napoleon, Stalin, they didn't just rule, they left scars. You want to be powerful? Stop chasing approval. Stop explaining your decisions to people who've never had to make hard ones. Stop softening your sharp edges so the world will feel safe around you. You don't need to be cruel, but you do need to be undeniably capable of it. Let them wonder. Let them second guess. Let them ask each other behind closed doors, what will he do if I cross him? That hesitation, that pause, that's your throne. That's the weight of your presence sitting in people's minds. Long after you've left the room, a feared man doesn't shout. He doesn't beg. He doesn't explain. His silence is loaded. His presence is enough. A lion doesn't bark, it just exists, and the jungle shifts accordingly. You think people obey kindness? They smile at kindness, but they obey pressure. They adjust for unpredictability. They behave around danger. And don't confuse this with chaos. Fear isn't screaming. Fear isn't rage. Fear is the calm silence of someone who knows exactly what they're capable of. Let me be precise. The feared man does not punish often, but when he does, it is final. No long lectures, no second warnings, no emotional breakdowns, just action. Clean, sharp, undeniable. That's what shifts behavior. Not your apologies, not your tears, your follow-through. Mercy? That's a tool of kings, not a weakness, but only if it's used rarely. Give it too freely and it's no longer mercy. It becomes cheap. It becomes expected. And once your mercy becomes expected, your threat becomes useless. People say, fear breeds hate. Yes, and hate is manageable. Hate keeps people distant. But disrespect? That's how empires fall. That's how betrayal walks through your door in daylight. You need to build something no one wants to test, not because you're violent, but because they know you could be. You want to know what power feels like? It's walking into a room and not having to speak because everyone's already adjusted. It's being the man they don't joke about, not because you're humorless, but because they don't know where your limits are. It's watching someone pause before they speak, because the cost of disrespect is written in your posture. Do you understand the difference? People follow love when they're comfortable, but when things fall apart, when chaos is in the air, when lines are being crossed, they look for the one they fear. Fear equals control. Fear equals leverage without needing to raise your voice. And yet, weak men will tell you to always be gentle, always be approachable. They want you to be safe because your sharpness reminds them of their softness. But kindness without limits is not virtue. It's a liability. It invites exploitation. It signals weakness. It tells the wolves, I won't bite even if you attack. You think you're being noble, but to the wrong person, you're just being available. Listen carefully. When you show mercy, make it feel like royalty. A calculated act, not a default setting. Don't be predictable. Predictability is a map. And if they can read you, they can control you. Uncertainty is your armor. Let them never fully know where they stand, because the man they cannot figure out is the man they never try to cross. Let me give you a real example. A leader executes a traitor in front of his court. Ruthless? Maybe, but that single action saves him from 100 whispered betrayals. Why? Because people only plot when they think you're too soft to respond. Fear doesn't come from what you do. It comes from what people think you're capable of. And when you're feared, your name becomes a warning. You can be calm. You can be polite. You can be smiling. But when they think, if I cross him, everything might burn, you've won. You don't need to punish often. You need to make it unforgettable when you do. Some will say, but that's cruel. That's dark. That's clarity. Because in a world full of manipulators, cowards, and smiling liars, if you aren't feared, you're food. And I'd rather be the one they fear than the one they forget. The world doesn't belong to the kind. It doesn't belong to the charismatic. It belongs to those who know how to make people hesitate. Because hesitation is power. Hesitation changes behavior. Hesitation creates control. Without a word. The man who is feared doesn't live in chaos. He's not some out-of-control tyrant screaming at his enemies. That man is emotional, predictable, weak. No, the man who is truly feared is still, calculated, quiet. He doesn't react. He watches. He collects. He remembers. He waits for the perfect moment, then strikes once, and it echoes forever. Fear isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. Real fear is crafted in silence and carried in reputation. People say, but isn't that lonely? Let me ask you something. Is it lonelier to be feared and respected or loved and walked over? Because here's what no one tells you. Kindness is forgettable. Fear is tattooed on the mind. Kindness invites dependency. Fear demands precision in how people treat you. They don't waste your time. They don't test your boundaries. They don't get comfortable enough to use you. Fear makes people sit up straight. Fear makes them choose their words. Fear makes them think before they reach out. And that's how you filter out the weak, the fake, and the leeches. You think you're being cold by pulling back, but really you're just being clear. Let them say you're intense. Let them call you distant. Let them say, he's changed. Yes, you've changed. You're no longer accessible to people who drain you. Let them think you're dangerous, because danger is respected. In a room full of charming cowards and passive manipulators, you be the one they can't figure out. You be the one they watch out of the corner of their eye. You be the one they never want to owe anything. That's presence. That's legacy. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to prove your worth. You walk in and the air shifts, because real power doesn't announce itself. It's felt. And fear is the amplifier of that feeling. So let them underestimate you. Let them think you're calm. Let them think they've got you figured out. Until they make a mistake. Then let them remember. Let them feel. Not rage, not chaos, but the calm, cold certainty of consequences. They'll call you heartless, but you'll be respected. They'll say you're cruel, but they won't cross you twice. They will hate you maybe, but they will never forget you. Now here's the last truth, and it cuts. People will betray the one they love, but they rarely betray the one they fear, because betrayal takes courage, and fear kills courage before it even speaks. So build that aura. Let your silence say more than your words ever could. Let your presence do the work your arguments never will. And when they say, "Why are you so calm?" smile. Because calmness, when you hold power, is terrifying. When people see a man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't explain, doesn't react, doesn't beg, they don't think you're weak. They know you've made peace with what you're capable of, and that is the kind of fear that never fades. Let them tell stories about you. Let them create their own myths. Let your name carry weight in rooms you've never entered. Fear isn't just a weapon. It's a reputation, a boundary, a crown. Because in the end, being loved is sweet. But being feared? That's how empires survive. So now you choose. Do you want to be liked and walked over, or remembered and untouched? Do you want to be warm and used, or unreadable and untouchable? Because power doesn't come from being loved. It comes from being respected even in your silence. And fear, real, clean, earned fear, is the language of that respect. So go ahead, let them think you're quiet. Let them call you cold. But the day they cross the line, let them finally understand why you were always calm. Thanks for listening.